last resort.
A leap of faith? Well, not so for Corey Harth, who came here to the Bahamas to undergo treatments banned in the United States. Like all her healthcare decisions, she says this one was backed up by thorough research. In fact, her doctors say Corey has become an expert on mesothelioma, the cancer she's fighting, and alternative medicine.
I call it my magic.
A late-night infomercial for a juicer is what gave Corey Harth the push she needed to take control of her own destiny.
It was difficult initially to fly in the face of science. As I kept saying, you've got to do chemo and radiation. You can't waste all kinds of time.
Instead, she turned to the internet and her own heart and decided to work on building up her immune system. She began to eat only organic foods, stockpiled herbs, vitamins, and other dietary supplements, and exercised like never before.
Getting healthy and staying healthy is hard work.
Then she turned to more exotic treatments, most recently something called Immuno-Augmentative Therapy in the Bahamas.
Is it a dangerous world out there when one goes in search of alternative treatments?
That's a very valid concern. You run into the constant danger of having charlatans and quacks taking advantage of that situation, because when somebody is dealing with something as serious as cancer, they're desperate.
It is perhaps telling that this exotic locale is often called the Singapore of the Atlantic, a place where you can find a little bit of almost anything for the right price, even hope. Its other nickname, Magic City. More than 250,000 people visit here each year. Most come for the sunny beaches and the clear blue water, the casino, golf courses, or the International Bazaar, some even to swim with dolphins. And then there are the desperate ones who come to Magic City hoping for just that, magic. Leslie Thiel, a wife and mother of two, underwent surgery and chemotherapy for colon cancer in 1994, but it came back in her liver. Given only a 25% chance of survival, even with further chemotherapy, she came here.
We flew over with 2 charge cards, not knowing anything really about the clinic, the protocol, anything except that we knew that it offered us hope.
3 years later, she is back for booster treatments, but her most recent CT scans are completely clear of cancer.
We're not doing anything magical. We're doing something which has taken many, many years to perfect.
Dr. John Clement, former head of the Bahamas Medical Association, now runs the I.A.T. clinic, where patients pay thousands of dollars for a 3-month treatment that includes a barrage of daily injections, all self-administered. It is not a cure, Clement says. In fact, he admits it won't even help most of the people who come here.
About 19%, which sounds dismal, but when you get down to chemotherapy and radiation, you're talking figures of less than 10%.
But Clement says Immuno-Augmentative Therapy, which is what I.A.T. stands for, does work particularly well on certain kinds of cancer. Among them, mesothelioma, the disease Corey Harth has.
When they come here, we're lucky. We can extend that life expectancy an awful lot. I can tell you that we have 2 mesothelioma patients who are alive at, I think it's 19 and 20 years.
Immuno-Augmentative Therapy was developed by the late Dr. Lawrence Burton, a rejected cancer researcher who was in fact not a doctor, but a zoologist. Burton believed the immune systems of those suffering from advanced cancers, like the patients who come to I.A.T, are compromised. This serum, developed by the late doctor, supposedly replaces 4 natural proteins he discovered missing from the blood of those with cancer.
So we're not treating cancer as such. We're treating the patient's immune system. The patient's immune system, if we're lucky, is able to reject the cancer.
Among those who praise I.A.T. is former Georgia Governor Lester Maddox, who sought treatment there in the early 1980s after conventional therapies failed to stop the spread of cancer. Maddox received more than 8,000 injections of Dr. Burton's serum and is still alive.
I think it gave a lot of people a lot of hope.
Certainly it has given Corey Harth hope.
Corey, are you convinced the treatments you've received in Freeport have been beneficial?
Oh, definitely.
How do you know what you're putting into your body?
There definitely are certain components. Could I describe what they are? No, I'm not a biochemist or biologist, but I know that they're helping me.
The medical establishment in the United States does not share Corey Harth's faith or her enthusiasm. Agencies such as the American Cancer Society, the National Cancer Institute, and the Food and Drug Administration believe the treatment patients receive here at I.A.T. has little or no value and may actually be harmful. But they may be about to take a second look. We'll tell you why when we return.
The last resort.
No meaningful research has ever been done on the serum patients receive here at I.A.T., in part because those who run the clinic refuse to participate in double-blind studies. They say it would be immoral to give some cancer patients life-saving serum while giving others only a placebo. You're about to meet a group of people who couldn't agree more.
It is completely unlike the waiting room of a typical cancer clinic.
I have gotten boundless energy.
Everybody's laughing and talking. None of us is sitting there, you know, just sitting there, oh my God, I'm going to die.
These are the true believers, almost cult-like in their devotion to Dr. Lawrence Burton's theory of immunotherapy.
My name is Marion Heinerfeld. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I have pancreatic cancer.
I have reoccurring breast cancer.
I have mesothelioma.
I have squamous cell carcinoma. That's cancer of the tongue.
I have infiltrating ductal carcinoma of the breast with metastases to the lymph nodes.
I have ovarian cancer, a lung cancer,
a colon cancer, pancreatic cancer.
I have renal cell carcinoma, which is kidney cancer, and it's on my pancreas.
I have chronic lymphatic leukemia, and I've been on this program since 1974.
Ask how many believe I.A.T. is the only reason they're still breathing, and the show of hands is unanimous.
They don't look like they got cancer. They don't act like they got cancer. Because they all have enthusiasm that this place is going to help them.
The patients here are largely unconcerned about the lack of proven medical research on I.A.T. If their own stories turn out well, that's all the evidence they need.
Last week I had a CT scan and I had a 50% reduction in my tumor, so I'm doing very good.
In 1991, Baris Panteluk was told her prognosis was poor, even with chemotherapy and radiation. She came to I.A.T. instead.
I just thought it was a matter of time when I would die. And after 1 week on the treatment, I was dancing in Port Lacaille Square.
And boy, she can do the Macarena.
The cost of living? More than most of these people can afford. Members of Corey Harth's church help pay for her trips to Freeport.
I am totally wealthy when it comes to friends and love. That's my only wealth.
The anger these people feel is directed less at cancer itself than at the medical establishment. They are angry that treatment is not available closer to home. Angry that their insurance will not cover the expense.
And they will cut you, burn you, and chemicalize you, and watch you die.
Yes, they will.
We had some of the same questions as the patients here. Why isn't anything being done to find out once and for all if the treatment really works, or if I.A.T. is one of the longest running and most successful hoaxes of our time? Channel 2 health reporter Diana Davis traveled to Washington, D.C. to visit the National Cancer Institute.
I don't believe the NCI is actively attempting to interfere with the activities of that clinic.
Times have changed, or so says this official with the National Cancer Institute. In fact, Dr. Jeffrey White assures us the NCI is now taking a very real interest in alternative cancer treatments. He heads a new office created to look into promising developments outside of mainstream medicine.
Trying to figure out how to get into this field in a way that makes sense.
That's a far cry from what the NCI seems to have been doing back in the 1980s. That's when the agency actively campaigned against I.A.T. until the clinic was shut down amid rumors that unsanitary practices had resulted in the spread of AIDS and other illness.
But the Cancer Institute came under fire after some congressional hearings in 1986. After hearing miraculous stories of recovery from a string of cancer patients and no evidence of AIDS transmission, lawmakers wanted to know why the Cancer Institute wasn't doing more to find out if the clinic really had come up with a breakthrough.
The clinic reopened and the agency hasn't taken a look at I.A.T. since then.
There may be some value of looking at what missteps might have been made on each side.
What do you say to people who are skeptics and so mistrustful of traditional medicine, and they say, listen, those people in Washington really don't want to know about alternative therapy?
We do have an open door, and we are willing to look at good quality evidence.
At least part of the problem is that there is no hard evidence when it comes to the I.A.T. clinics, only success stories. Yet Dr. White agrees that even anecdotal successes should be investigated if enough of them start to stack up. And as a result of our inquiries, Dr. White says his office will formally invite the I.A.T. clinic to undergo a new evaluation. Are you willing to work with them?
I will, write this letter of invitation, and we'll have to see.
Former Congressman Guy Molinari, who presided over the congressional hearings in 1986, was clearly impressed by the testimony in favor of I.A.T. He said nothing should be done to prevent cancer patients from coming here for treatment, adding, quote, "They should be allowed to pursue that last hope, whether it worked or not." We'll return in just a moment.
For Corey Harth, every day is a red letter day. Even so, some are still a little more special than others.
Stephen Paul Harth.
The graduation of her second son, Stephen, from high school. A cherished milestone she might not have been here to see if she had allowed herself to lose hope.
Cancer's changed my life forever. It's taught me how precious life is.
When Corey Harth set out to beat the odds, she was concerned only with longevity.
I have subsequently, over the past 3 years of this cancer journey, changed my tune dramatically. I have had not only quantity of life way beyond what was initially predicted, but what is 1,000 times more important to me is quality of life.
As inspirational as Corey's story is, some fear those who hear it may get the wrong message. Dr. Frank Ferrier, who operated on Corey and removed as much of her tumor as possible, says conventional therapies remain the best option in most cases.
Dr. Ferrier, what part do you think your surgery played in all this?
I think it's as key as anything we've done, to be honest with you. I think it's more key than what she's doing now.
Still, Ferrier says, you can't knock success, and he is as thrilled as anyone with Corey.
The tumor, for some reason, is not growing.
So you wouldn't tell her to change what she's doing?
I wouldn't tell her to change.
The one thing that has driven me inside is just a very deep-seated conviction that I can't even explain where it comes from, John. You can call it faith, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but somehow my job on this earth wasn't done yet.
Corey Harth likes to point out that people will spend days, weeks, even months buying an automobile. They'll visit different car lots, read consumer magazines, talk to friends about the kinds of cars they drive. But when it comes to their own personal health care, well, that's another matter entirely. Most people don't know the quality health care they're getting or what alternative treatments might be out there. From Freeport on Grand Bahama Island, I'm John Pruitt. Thanks for being with us.